bumps along. We'll figure it out. We've never done this shit before.
No, it's all new.
So,
So this is awesome. We finally figured it out. Thanks to my friend Annie that came over to show me how to do this because I was totally lost. So we're a while back. I called him up and I said, "Hey, look, there's some things bothering me with all these suicides and whatnots that has been going on, and a lot of things that we needed to talk about." And the more we sit there and talk, the more I realized that we had pretty interesting conversations that were very in depth and everything. And then one night I was sitting here and I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to call this dude and we're going to start a podcast, and I called him and ran the idea by him. There was a lot of sitting down, talking, and shout out to his wife for being like huge supporter of this thing, man. And
he's very supportive of this whole thing.
Oh yeah, I mean, we wouldn't be where we're at right now if it wasn't for Courtney. So Thank you very much. Yeah. As most of y'all on my Facebook know, that I went to Colorado to go see him not too long ago, and a lot of it had to do with this right here. What we finally got up, and man, it's awesome that we're finally here, man. And so we were kind of going over some issues that we feel that we need to go over. And, as some of y'all know, we lost somebody close, dear to us that had PTSD, and, he took his own life, and it really affected a lot of us, a lot of our whole little group and our clan. And, it really kind of like made us think, like, what can we do to help somebody else, just at least one person at least, and so that's when we decided we're going to do this podcast, and we're going to talk about PTSD. We're going to talk about depression, just like different things that, transitioning out of the military, or this isn't just for military, I mean,
no, it's for everybody. It's for first responders. It's for people that went through trauma, throughout their life. I mean, it doesn't matter what it is. You can't just focus PTSD on combat veterans. That's not the whole thing. Like, everybody goes through some sort of trauma, and we need to, let that be known, and how we can do what we can do to reach out and, guide them to the way of any, I don't know, just help. That's what we're here for. That's what we're trying to bring to light, So I don't want people to think that it's just combat PTSD. It's everything. It's everything as a whole.
Right. And it's not just PTSD that we're going to be talking about either. I mean, we ran into a situation while we were in Colorado that just alarmed the hell out of us, but this week, our main thing was just kind of introduce ourselves, let y'all know what we're coming into, mainly to make sure that everything's working correctly, because we had a hard time getting all that going. But I think now that we got some of the bugs worked out, I really think it's going to start getting better as we go along.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, hell, I'm not an engineer or anything. Like, I just want to plug in a camera and talk to people, but it doesn't happen that fast or that easy. Yeah, I mean, we're just here for everybody, and we have people from all ends of the spectrum that we know that we would like to reach out to and talk to. And I mean, anywhere from combat veterans to first responders to spouses, like ex-spouses, like, what do they deal with? Like, we put people through a hard time, when people have issues. So how do we get better with that? And how do we, alleviate that pressure from the person dealing with the symptoms to the spouses to the kids? Like, how can we put light on that? And I think that's what the big thing is for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and it seems like there's a lot of people that feel like there's nobody out there that feels the same way, or nobody to talk to, like when things are rough. And I mean, we're just going to do a podcast a week, and we want everybody to like and share and send this off to everybody that they can, because the more people it reaches, all it takes is one to watch it and say, hey, you know what? Those guys, they spoke to me, I decided to take the gun out of my mouth, or I decided, you know what? They're doing things. I'm going to try to be a better person for it. Like it's just trying to help. It's mainly positive. I understand that coming down, like a new podcast, like we've talked about it over and over, and we did our research, and we're not Joe Rogan. We're not some of these people that have these famous podcasts or anything like that.
We're not, like, our technology is not.
Yeah, and I mean, look at what we're doing. I mean, we're doing it out of our house. Like, I have dogs here. I mean, you're going to hear craziness going on in the background usually, especially. I mean, I love my sister to death, but when she's here, sometimes she can get loud. But I mean, like,
I have 2 kids.
Yeah, 2 kids.
Yeah, that's going to get crazy too.
Yeah.
So one of the things for me is there's a whole bunch of, I guess, podcasts for every other thing, like how to get through the, VA and how to get a better rating, whatever. We just want to talk to people. We want to talk to people and see what your everyday fight is. Like, how can we help you? Because I promise you, myself and Wadzik, we've been through the same thing. We've had failed relationships. We've had failed jobs. Like, so it doesn't, we don't want to, just confine it into veterans. Like, what can we do? Like, I think with my experience with my issues is people just need someone to listen to. They need someone to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I'd be more than willing to sit there and talk to people all day because I've been there and I've done that, And I think there's a lack of support in general for people that have these issues.
And also, I know a lot of people are probably questioning the name, the Bellwether No.
Okay.
And,
yeah, go ahead. Tell that story.
I think we need to tell the story of how Bellwether No came along. Okay, so the guy that we were talking about earlier that took his own life, it was, God, man, this guy was so down. He was down for us. I mean, we were family, and we had a guy that was in our unit that was,
This is what this podcast is.
That's what started the whole thing right there. Hill started this whole thing. Like, when it all happened, me and Widener talked numerous times to figure out what we could do to help, and but anyways, like one night, one of our guys, Wood,
Wood might be watching right now, actually.
He might be watching us, yeah. So, like, he really liked this chick that later on became to be his wife and whatever. Things happen, whatever. But we were young, Okay. And she was actually talking to another guy in our unit that was doing her wrong. Like, man, we went to go pick him up from the airport, and like he was doing shitty things, and it was killing Wood to watch this happen to the person that he was loved
at that time. Yeah.
At the time. Yeah, at the time. Yeah, Wood's here. He just came on and said, "Yep, I'm here." So,
my boy.
It's my boy. So anyway, Wood came to me and he was like, "Man, what we witnessed was fucked up. We gotta, we gotta do something. We gotta whoop his ass. We gotta do something." He'll just happen to be there. Like, he goes, "What are y'all doing?" "We're gonna go whoop Patrick's ass." He was like, "Let's go." So, so he's like a very down, like to do anything. Like, it don't matter who it is. He's down. Like, as long as he's got your back, he doesn't care. And like, so we go down there.
Yeah.
We go down there in front of this guy and we confront him. And we're, telling him what a piece of shit he was and how he was fucking this chick over and how it wasn't right. And if he didn't want to be with her, he needed to move on. So therefore, somebody else could be with her and treat her right, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so this dude's pleading for his life because there's people surrounded him ready to whoop his ass. Well, he looks at Hill thinking Hill's going to save his life for some reason. And Hill says, he goes, "Hill, you know me better than this, man. Like, this isn't how I am. And this is what screwed up the whole thing." He goes, "Well, you damn bellwether know." Dude, like, nobody was mad at all anymore. Like, nobody could even be mad at that. Like, he took his warning. They ended up splitting up, whatever, and then but being that there's my girl right there. Being that we kind of this was about him, like this was what he was the one that made us get off our butts and actually try to help people rather than just be a face in the crowd and say, "Oh man, I don't like this," or whatever.
Well, and here's the thing about that too is Hill, we knew Hill. I don't want to say better than anybody, because he has a family and his tribe and all that stuff. But Hill, he'd always get this look on his face. And at that point, we thought that that's just Hill. But it went deeper than that. Like, he had so many issues that we did not, catch up on. And we didn't
recognize them.
We didn't recognize it, and, so that sucks. And he, it's just sad because we sit there and kind of laugh about it because, Hill's like, he'd fire off the hip because he would, he'd do anything.
Without a doubt.
And if he was your brother and, he trusted you, you can literally say, "Hill, go fucking take that dude out." But we didn't see the signs. We didn't realize the signs of the issues he was going through. And that's what's sad. And, that's where we're at now. I think that's one of the hardest things for me. Mm-hmm. With Hill being, one of our best brothers ever. It's just, how did we not see those signs? So I think that's another thing that we're trying to get to is we're trying to figure out these signs and how to talk to people and how to, encourage people to, hey, if you need to talk. And that's a very hard thing to do, especially for combat veterans, police officers, first responders.
Well, it's because that's the way we feel like we should be. We feel like
But that's
problems
wrong.
are
Yeah,
ours.
no, I get that, but that's wrong. Like, how do we change that, like, course of path? You know what I mean? Like, so I just, I don't know. And it's not only Hill that's dealing with it. Can you say hi? I think people just need to talk about it that don't talk about it. And that's one of the hardest parts of dealing with things.
We would all like to just close ourselves up in a room and like listen to music, get in a different place, when really what we need to do is talk to somebody, or
Yes.
And the thing is too, with this podcast, we don't expect people to come to us and talk to us as much as, I mean, we would be open to it, but a lot of them,
absolutely,
we just want you to talk to somebody, somebody who's going to help you through this issue, rather than, I mean, like my family was devastated by suicide when I was a young age, man. My cousin, he committed suicide when we were young. I was in the 6th grade, and I remember thinking to myself, after seeing how it affected my family, and seeing the pain and everything that they went through, I always told myself, like, I don't care how bad things are, I will never put my family through this, and that's what's kind of helped me through a lot of it, just for the fact that I'm hard-headed, and if I say I'm going to do something, I'll usually do it. If I say I ain't going to do it, then I don't, I mean, it is what it is,
Yeah, I mean, go ahead. I'm not trying to cut you off.
But yeah, that's mainly why I've made it, as far as I have. And, we've had a lot of things that doesn't make sense to a normal person, but was normal life to us, and
you're right. I mean, this can it's not funny, but like it spirals into a whole different conversation, and you're very right. But that's what we need to bring to light. Like, people, I mean, I work with the military still, and people just, okay, are you?
Our first guest, ladies and gentlemen.
But how do we? So, when we were in and Woods watching and stuff like that, like, he can contest to this, is we were always a shut up and drive on.
Yeah.
Don't go to sick call. Don't be that guy. Don't be a sick call ranger, stuff like that. So I look back at Hill, and was he ever told that? Like, I don't know. And is that still being said to people? I don't know. And that's so sad. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. So I think there's an outlet that, out there for us, or for people dealing with things, that's just not explored. People are scared to get help. And that is the wrong mindset.
It is.
So how do we promote a better mindset to get help? That's what I'm all about.
Yeah, and that's what we set out to do when we decided we were going to start this, is mainly just try to help somebody.
Yeah.
It doesn't, like I said, it doesn't have to be combat veteran. It doesn't have to be first responder. It could be anybody. Yeah. We're just going to talk to you about the stuff that we know to maybe help you through a tough through a tough time, you know. And I mean, like my sister, she has a touch of PTSD from when her house caught on fire. Like, she can't. I mean, she freaks out like if a smoke alarm goes off or something, you know. And that's understandable. And but man, I'm really looking forward to our little journey here to see where it takes us. And you know, I want people to like and share us as much as possible. Get us out there. Get to somebody, at least one person. Get to them. You know, I mean, there's there's so much stuff.
Disclaimer: I have a family, so you're probably going to hear my kid, my dogs, whatever point, and I'm fine with that. So
yeah, I'm fine with it. But no, the big thing is we just wanted to come on and kind of introduce ourselves, let y'all know that we're real people. We've went through some of the stuff that we talk about. It's not just a bunch of. It's not a joke, you know. Like, I mean, we're talking life and death here. I mean, when we were having issues getting stuff together earlier, one of the things I told Widener was like, man, like, you realize that potentially we could save a life today if we could get this going.
One.
Just one life.
Me, you know. I mean, it touches so close to home because we've been through that. We've been through, you know, buddies of ours, you know, friends of ours that chose the alternate route, if that's what you're going to call it. But yeah, I mean, hell, I'd do everything I can to change one life.
Yeah.
One life.
Yeah. So I think that we're going to wrap up today podcast now, since we've been fighting this thing for 3 hours to try to get it going. And
no, I want to keep going. I want to keep going.
You want to keep going? All right, then what do we? Let's do it. Let's do it.
But you know, so I get fired up about it. It's just trauma in general is not talked about enough for people.
No.
And you know, and that's what hurts people, because people don't think that people are listening, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? It's a sad thing. So we need to bring that to light. Like, it's okay to talk about it. It's okay to reach out. You know what I mean? I think that's what's. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like, how do you fix that?
I don't know. I mean, like, the only way I know is, I mean, I don't know.
Well, you got to reach out to these people. Like, you got to reach out. And
buddy checks.
I mean, still on my Facebook, I know that there's 20 people that are down in the dumps that need the help. You know what I mean? How do they feel like they can reach out to us? How do they feel like they can reach out to anybody? So that's our thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so from the outside looking in, like, I just want to reach out to everybody. I guess that's what, you know.
So I'm sitting here reading some of the comments.
Yeah, I am too. That's why.
I've been kind of. And Britain said, talk about some of the signs of PTSD. People won't recognize the signs of someone that's struggling.
Sure, and that's hard.
I guess. I guess the biggest sign for me is overcompensation. You have your different types of people. You have your extroverts and your introverts or whatever, extroverts. Yeah, whatever. It's been a rough day. But anyways, like people that are usually, kind of, like in their own feelings, they're not really outspoken or whatever. Those are the ones that are hard to see, and it's hard to see it in them because that they're shy, that they're kind of in their own feelings all the time. So when you see it, yeah, exactly,
right there,
exactly. But with the loud, rambunctious people, as I would put it, I guess, or the normal, like, hey, how you doing, or whatever. I mean, let's look at some of the people that have this this anxiety problem from before that have ended up in suicide. Let's talk about like Robin Williams and Chester from Linkin Park. You would not know anything's wrong with this person unless they came to you and said, but I have a fucking problem.
Here's the issue with that is you wouldn't know because on paper or video, whatever the hell you want, like it's a perfect life that they have. But money brings more issues, and we're going down a rabbit hole at this point. But no, you wouldn't know because they're not talking to people. And that is the hardest thing to do as someone that has trauma is to talk to people. So how do we get
and I think and I think that's kind of where the the buddy checks and stuff come in, because how many times did you and Heel talk on the phone, just called each other just to see how many times have me and you got on the phone? And it's easy to call your friend to check on them.
Sure.
But there's so many other people that need help that, we can't just buddy check everybody, we gotta at least have some kind of common ground,
Yeah.
And
I mean,
Brittany, you're killing me, Brittany.
All right, no, Brittany,
I love it, but it's killing me.
So if you're,
it is a great question. Like, what do you do?
What do you do? So I'm a prideful fucking person. So
yes,
I'm very prideful. I'm the one that's like, nothing's wrong. Like, I'm good.
Yeah.
I think with
slow is right.
To be is you got to look at yourself as a person and say, hey, I need help. And that's one of the hardest things you'll ever do in your life.
Exactly.
100%. And like the hardest thing you ever do is say, I need help.
Slow hit the nail on the head. When sometimes the best thing you can do is just sit with a person.
Absolutely.
Fucking slow. You're the man, Slow.
We can't reach everyone. You're right.
You're right.
But we can try. We can try. We can.
And that's why we have this platform.
To
try. If everybody can like and share, everybody like and share. Maybe we can touch somebody that we don't even know.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We're on the interwebs.
How do we? But okay, with Slow being, commenting is, he makes a very valid point.
Yes.
What about the people that are like, I don't want help? How do we?
Well, that's how see, Edgar brought up a good point too when he said, maybe a drink will and still help start a conversation.
Come on.
And no, I mean, for real though, I mean, I could be in a bad mood. I could have a bad day. I come in and drink about 6 or 7 beers, and my God, I'm ready to talk to everybody. And like when I first would talk to people, and stuff like that, the hardest thing for me was getting to somebody to understand what I was talking about. Like what are you even talking about? Like IED? What is an IED? What is this? And because when you get out, like it's different life when you get out, and you have veterans everywhere. You really do, but in the same breath, you don't have that brotherhood with them.
Yeah, sure.
So we're gonna challenge our viewers, listeners, whatever, to find somebody who needs help, or like if you know somebody that might need help, call them, check on them, see how they're doing.
Absolutely.
Take them to lunch.
Like a
take them to lunch.
Ways.
Yeah. Phone works both ways. And that's the truth. That's one of my biggest things. Like I've had issues with in the past, not just with like my personal stuff, but like in relationships, man. Like I'm horrible communicator. I mean, I'm the first.
That's also a product of PTSD. Is you just don't want to talk to people. I know that's me.
You don't. Like I literally had a girlfriend one time. I would call her when I got off work, ask her if she wanted to go to dinner. And whether we went to dinner or not, like sometimes we'd go to dinner, sometimes we wouldn't. Sometimes she had other things to do, whatever. I would come home. Like I would tell her, like, hey, I'm going home. I would come home, sit on the couch, watch TV. I have my phone sitting right next to me. But do I ever send that text like, hey, how are you doing? Or what's going on or anything like that? No, because I felt like I said everything I needed to say. And see, not only was I raised, my father had this, or my dad had this real big rule that, especially with grown-ups, like you don't talk unless you're being spoken to, and the thing is if I'm speaking to somebody, like I'm gonna tell them what I have to say, and then I'm done, and I usually don't mess around the point. I just get straight to the point and get it out and be done. So it's gonna be challenging. Man, we need to get Slow as a guest on the show. It seems like he's
awesome. Like, yeah, he's there.
Yeah, love this guy.
Well, I don't want to put Slow story out there also, but no, there's quite a few people that could talk about these things, and
man, I'll tell you, man, we're on such a platform now that we could help people in a way.
That's exactly what I want,
Yeah, in a way that we couldn't do it just doing a buddy check here and there. Like we couldn't do that without this kind of what do you call it, platform, I guess. I don't know. It just wouldn't have happened. There's no way you can't just do that.
I mean, what do you think the biggest thing is? Like, where do you think people hit that point and they reach out, hey, I need help.
Well, see, it's been my experience in the past, the ones that need the help, they don't ask for help. They don't tell you they need help.
Slow. Hold on.
And it's been in the past.
Stop talking. Hold on. Slow. Explain that. Talk to me a little more. He. Okay. So the thing about this, Slow, is I don't want people to feel uncomfortable.
No.
But if you're feeling that way, like, how do we go about this to make it comfortable? Does that make sense?
I think what he's saying is guys will listen.
No.
If you make people feel uncomfortable, like get in their business, it helps them. Like.
Okay, but no.
Like dig, or is he telling us to dig?
That's what I'm asking him.
Because I don't want to be that guy that pushes the guy over the edge because I keep asking.
No, exactly.
Like, hey, yeah, like, hey, you're not yourself. What's going on with you?
No. So people watching, Slow, I'm not gonna try to blow your, contacts or anything like that.
Exactly, dig.
Slow, do you mind if I talk about your story? I will not proceed until I hear that.
Yeah. And honestly, I wouldn't mind saving that story if we could find a way to get Slow on the show.
All right. Fucking A. Here we go. So everyone that's watching, a long story short, Slow got his whole face blown off. He really did. He almost lost his face by an IED with shrapnel. And this is just hard to talk about because we were there for that. Like, we were there. We were fortunate enough not lose anybody, but Slow was one of our biggest casualties without being a casualty, if that makes sense. He literally had his fucking face blown off. You know what I mean? So it just, like, how does that make you feel? Like, how does it make you feel to talk about it? Like, that's tough. It's tough.
Yeah.
There's many people like you, Slow. You're our Slow. You are our Slow.
There are many like you, but you are ours. I don't know, man. Like,
it's like, how do people deal with that? Like, injuries, like Slow went through. Like, how did you deal with that, Slow? I
know he had a steak. Like, I know he got a steak made for him. Like when he got back to the unit, I know that I tried to help that way because. He says you have to talk about it. There's no way.
Yeah. And that right there, that is a prime example. Example of looking to talk through things, looking to help, themselves. And Slow is a prime fucking example because we were there, Wadzik. We were there when he almost lost his face. We were there. And
right.
That is a prime example of people that are willing to look for help. That's amazing. That's amazing to me.
Yeah. Man, we got on a crazy tangent. Slow went through a crazy, crazy thing. And, you know, it's like you said, you know, there's many like him, you know, he's not the only one. I mean, you know, really, when you think about it, how lucky he really is. Yeah, he's got, you know, the scars.
Honestly, no, he should not be here with us right now. Like, if you look at
it. He should.
Yeah.
No, he shouldn't, man. And I'm thankful that he is, because you know, I like watching fishing stories on Facebook. I'm always watching his fishing shows on
every
Facebook.
Time I hear, like, I hear him, I'm like, shit, do I do push-ups or what do I do?
Oh yeah.
But no.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely, we're fortunate for him.
Yeah, and I mean, I know it's hard for him. You know, like, it's got to be hard. You know,
it has to be.
I noticed not too long ago. He posted something about his Purple Heart. It might have been a couple of years ago, and because you're a fucking superhero.
Absolutely.
That's right, Slow. You are.
Bro, you are. Absolutely.
It was like a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
It was like a couple of years ago, and Slow, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I noticed you posted something about you getting your Purple Heart or your picture or something, and somebody got on there and said, like, I didn't even know you were awarded the Purple Heart. And I remember looking at that thinking, like, Slow's this bad motherfucker walking along amongst people, and he doesn't tell people what's going on. Like if people didn't know that, I mean, like, I know, you know, because we were there, but to people that don't know, man, like, it just blows my mind that he hasn't said anything. You know, to you know, like, I mean, I know that people notice the scars, and I imagine that's rough to live with. You know, somebody asking, "Hey, what happened?" You know, but for somebody not to know that he had a Purple Heart and the things that he did, it blows my mind. Like, I would be at the grocery store, like, throwing shit at people. Like, I wouldn't even care. You know, like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do to me? You know.
I mean, but and that adds to the cost too. Wazzy, is we have people like Slow. People see Slow all the time. I mean, shit, I hate people, so I don't know how many people see Slow, but they can look at
it
and just not realize what the fuck they've done and what they sacrificed. You know, and you know, that's the thing is Slow literally had his fucking face blown off, and he stayed with his troops. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
After that is like, I'm sure there's issues, and I'm sure that, you know, it was hard to talk about and all that. So that's where we are here. Slow is
I got to give him mad props, you know, because
absolutely.
Not only did he do that,
why wouldn't you?
After he got out, like, he's raising a daughter. Oh my God, man, that poor girl looks just like him, man.
Yeah. She's a lot prettier than him.
Yeah, she is a lot prettier than
he done it by himself. You know what I mean? But, I mean, it's just like, I think there's a way to put it is a silent disease.
Mm-hmm.
People don't want to talk about it. People don't want to talk about their issues. And that's
because if you don't talk about them, they don't exist.
And that's the problem. So
your problem is that you got problems, but your problem is you don't talk about your problems.
How do you fix that? People just need to feel comfortable about coming within, you know. I don't know. is it one of the things that you don't ever go to sick call? Like you're gonna fucking drink water, ibuprofen, walk it out. Like that's not the right answer.
No.
So how do we let people know that it's okay to reach out? That's what I want to talk about.
Well, and that's kind of what this is for, letting people know it's okay to reach out. But a lot of people, they won't, though. I mean, like, look back at all the people you knew that committed suicide. And famous people you actually knew to whatever. 90% of the ones that did it never once came to you and said, I have a problem. The ones that sit there and say, I'm going to kill myself, blah, 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 just going on about it all the time. At some point, do you wonder, like, are you searching for attention or are you actually going to hurt yourself?
So now here's the thing about that. I used to think that, the suicide thing was a very selfish thing.
Yes.
But it's not.
Very much so.
It's really not. So the reason that it's not is because they Hill he could not find a place to be. God, this has hit me hard. He could not find a place to be just comfortable. So I thought that I used to think that suicide was a very selfish thing, and it's not. It's people did not. What it comes down to is people. They had all these signs and these issues, but people did not reach out, and they didn't have the conversations. Hey, what's going on? So that's tough for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a tough thing, and
very tough. Yeah.
And if you don't, like Smith said just now, if you don't talk about them, they don't exist, and that's a fucking problem. That's a fucking.
But that's the generation. Like my dad, man. Like I gotta talk about my dad for a minute. Like my dad is now, we can say, for the first time in like the last 3 years, that my dad is cancer free. He had hallelujah, baby. But it's even like right now with my mom, like, you talk to my dad, like, hey dad, how you doing? How you feeling? Oh, I feel good. I feel great. I feel good. And still in the state that he's in, he's not going to tell you what's bothering him, because that generation of people, they believed, like, my problems are my problems, your problems are your problems. You deal with your shit. You leave my shit alone. Let me deal with mine the way I deal with mine. Now, you take that generation, that's who raised us. And then when we go into the military, that's who our senior NCOs are, is this generation of people that are in their minds. They don't talk about problems. They don't exist because they don't talk about them. Knowing damn well in their head, they're fighting a battle every fucking day. They're fighting a battle inside their head to get up, to go to work, to, anything, but you won't know it because they're like, I'm too tough for it, or I it's not a problem or whatever. You know, they don't want to talk about it. So I'm kind of getting what Slow's saying here. You know, he's like, work on one problem at a time. It's okay not to be okay. That's true. It's okay not to be okay.
Well,
And there's going to be times that you're going to not be okay more than you're okay.
Yeah, and that's fine. I mean, it's fine, but it's hard.
It is hard.
So you can say, "Hey, get over it," and
oh yeah.
How do we get people over it? You know, that's my thing. Is like Smith said, if you don't talk about it, it doesn't exist. So if you don't talk about it, you know who deals with that? It's your wife. It's your kids. It's your friends.
It's your work.
It's your work. You know, and I've been there 100%.
Oh yeah. I mean, oh yeah. And as we go on, we'll bring in people that'll testify. That'll say, "Yeah, you're nutty. You're a nutty nut job." You know, whatever. But you know, the thing is like, man, we there's so many people out there with mental illnesses right now, and it's not just us. It's, I mean, like I said, you know, like last year I was at a middle school working with kids that have ED. Emotionally disturbed. Yeah, emotionally disturbed. I'm sorry, man.
I thought you were going to say erectile dysfunction.
Right, dysfunction. No, I worked with ED kids, and you know, the thing is, when I worked with those ED kids, I could connect with them in a way that I felt like I could talk to the actual person. You know, I wasn't talking to the monster that was doing things that put them in that class. You know, I felt like I could actually talk to the person. One of the kids that were in my class actually played on my football team, and one of his problems is he had a lot of anger issues, and we got him out on a football field, and he was able to, you know, release that anger, you know, and it was because we were able to talk to him and explain to him, you know, like, look, in between the whistles, in between the lines, you can push them, you can shove them, you know, hit them, you know, not like with fists, but, you know, football talk.
Yeah.
You could do all these things. And this was a great release for him. I think that people that do like martial arts, I think it's a good release for them for the fact that they can hit something, they can get that release out. So they're not talking about it, but they have their own way of dealing with it, their own way of coping with it, their own coping mechanism. Might be beating up somebody or beating up a heavy bag or, you know, whatever. Some people work out, some people do yoga, some people drink, you know, which drinking is depressing anyway. I mean, you already got all these issues going against you. I don't know if, you know, drinking is the right way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
I don't know if I'm the one to really say you can't drink, but I feel like,
well, no. No.
I mean, it may not be the best thing.
So let's get back to Slow. Actually, he made a valid point. You don't get over it; you get through it. So Slow, what made you get through it? Like what programs? Like, shit, I can stay here all night, 100%. I just don't. Yes. So how do we do that, Wood? Like, how do we do that? Like, how do we need people to want to seek help. And then look at what Wood said.
Yeah.
We have to teach people how to build healthy coping mechanisms. Like how do we do that though?
I mean, that's hard anyway. I mean, but you got to get to know the person. You know, kind of like with me, I was able to get to know this person.
Now you say that, and that's true. That's true. So I have a buddy of mine that actually commands about 180 people. I won't say his name because I don't want to put him on blast. So you have to get to know the people, but when there's that many people, how do you do that? That's tough. So I think
it's damn near impossible. It's like Slow said right there.
It depends
on the person.
If you have a leadership team that's in tune, as far as officers and NCOs and all that, I think that's how that can happen. But all right, let's go back to, let's say, ambulance. An ambulance company. These people, they go save people nightly and nightly, hourly and hourly. But no one talks about them. No one talks about them for, first responders. Like, how do we get that? Like, how do we, it's like a whole thing that is being missed, I think. I think there's a whole thing that no one's talking about.
Mm-hmm. And but also, I mean, when you think about ambulances, like when you see one go by, like my heart drops almost every time I see one go by, because you don't know, the person they're going to pick up might be somebody that or is a family member or something, and one of the first things you think to yourself, like, I wonder what's going on, like your curiousness like kind of steps up, but I have a good friend of mine that actually agreed to be a guest on here one time. That's what he decided to do with his life, is he was going to be an EMT. And, he's got stories that he could tell that, he's told me in confidence that he's like, look, man, after I saw it, I knew it wasn't for me, because I couldn't deal with the fact of seeing what I saw. It was too hard to deal with. Yeah. And when he told me that, I never thought of it. It's like you're saying, like you never think of, EMTs or, stuff like that. And I've got a perfect guy. I got to get a hold of him and see if I can't bring him on. He was a fireman of the year, like, or EMT of the year or something. I don't know. Like, he's fire EMS, great. Fireman. But see, we used to use him with our security, with our security company. When we had these crazy events, we'd usually bring him out as the medic. And this guy was awesome, like real laid back, I mean, like there've been times where I've had, been fighting with somebody and that dude would jump up and help me. I mean, the guy's awesome, but man, some of the things that this guy has gone through, man, like if we could get him on the show, he would straight up tell you, like, yeah, what you went through sucked. And I'm not saying it didn't have, or, like, isn't that good or isn't that big of a deal. But this is what I went on every day. And you know, like when I got into the private security business, it started because I wanted to hang out with Grimes. You know, Grimes, you know, was on there. And as it went, I mean, Grimes can tell you, I mean, like we got into some huge battles over some dumb stuff, man. I don't know how many drugs we've, you know, brought out of places and stuff like that. But usually when you start messing with somebody's drugs, money, or anything like that,
cartel, bro.
Like they turn violent fast.
Yeah.
And when they turn violent fast, it gets nuts. And
hey, hold on. I'm gonna go take a piss. Keep talking to people.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
Okay. Okay. Well, I guess he'll be right back. But you know, you start messing with that stuff, people get very violent. And one of the things that I could always count on was Grimes would be there and my buddy and this guy with the EMS. But what I'm saying about the EMS is, like, I've seen him have to deal with things that necessarily I wouldn't want to deal with. I wouldn't want to mess with it. That's why we had a medic there, you know, to help us out, because it's too much. It's more than just a little patch, or, you know, like, I mean, I think most of us have gone through the combat lifesavers course and stuff like that, but it's a little bit different than a combat lifesavers course at this point in time. Uh, I think that going back to some of the stuff we were talking about with the healthy coping mechanisms and stuff like that, me personally, I think you really got to know the person to know what that person's into. Like me, I love hunting, fishing, you know, all that stuff. But when I'm really in my feelings, the only place I want to be is in a dark room with a drink and listening to the saddest music I can find. I love sad music that tells a story. So that's like my little coping mechanism. Probably not the most healthiest, not the best, but that's me. Like that's what I enjoy. I enjoy doing it. That's what I want to do with my time. Whereas if, you know, we need to talk to somebody or whatever, you kind of got to know that person, know what that person's likes or and stuff like that. Maybe it's something, you know, simple. Maybe some people like to write, some people may like to read, some people, you know, like the MMA thing. You know, what I think would be the biggest help of any of this is doing buddy checks. I really believe in the buddy checks. I think that you could catch somebody off guard with the buddy check. You know, you call them, they may not be having the best day of the world, you know, that they've ever had, and then you give them a call just to check on them, even if they don't want to talk, or even if they don't answer the phone, and they saw that you called. That kind of shows that you care. You know, I mean, if you're going to take time out of your day to call somebody, you're going. It's about time. If you're going to take your time out of your day to call somebody, even if they don't answer the phone, they see that you called. You know, I'm talking about buddy checks. You know, even if you call somebody, they don't answer. Say I'm buddy checking you, okay, and I call, you don't answer. And say you're having a bad day, you look down at your phone and you're like,
"Oh, dude,
I
was it shit fire hot at you last night, dude? I was so fucking twisted." Yeah, no, but I got you. No, like, oh yeah,
so if people don't know why he's mad, we have a phone conversation Wednesday about our podcast and everything.
No, we did not.
Yes, we did. This dude tells me, and I challenged him. I said, I want you to come up with 26 different topics that we can talk about on the podcast. He says, you know what? When are we going to talk again? I said, Friday. We're going to talk again Friday. He's like, well, let's go live Sunday.
Mm.
And I said, are you sure? And he's, yeah, I'm ready to go live Sunday. I said, okay. So I took the weekend off of hunting to make sure I could get everything set up for the podcast and be ready. I go live last night to tell everybody and check all my equipment to tell everybody that we're going live on Sunday. I get a phone call by a mad Widener wondering, why are we going live Sunday? I ain't got none of my stuff together. That's what you told me, is we're going live Sunday.
Yeah. No, it did not.
So yeah, it was
interesting.
We need to work on our communication skills, obviously, or we need to think about what we're committing to. But we really, when we decide a topic that we're going to go over, we're going to have a whole week to research it. We're going to have a whole week to go through it with a fine-tooth comb. We're not going to tell each other.
And that's the thing. What are we missing? What are these topics that need to be talked about?
Yeah. And a lot of you will not see this live. A lot of you will probably have to see it later in the feed. If you have a topic you want us to try to tackle and let us do some research on, so we don't sound like blithering idiots, by all means, either that or go on the Bellwether No page, which everybody should be exploding that thing up right now. The Bellwether page, share it, like it, send it off to your friends, whatever.
Yeah.
Go on the Bellwether page and just leave a note. Say, hey, if you can, could you talk about this subject? I had a message earlier from Salinas' wife, Colleen, was asking about some of the things, was asking, hey, can you touch on this subject, this subject, this subject? I told her some of the things that we'd already discussed off of my list that I made. And she's like, you already got it all. So, every week is going to be a different thing. I mean, simple things, just from the PTSD to depression to, whatever, transitioning, how to be a better person.
Yeah, I mean, exactly.
Full fucking transparency, man. Being able to talk to somebody, being a better person, how you translate to each other. We ran into that issue up there in Colorado. When the girl, all men are creeps.
The way
you're like 20.
Yeah,
you're like 22 years old and you already think everybody's creeps. How did we fail as a whole?
Yeah.
But we've already passed our hour mark, Widener.
I know, that's fine. I just like
and it's probably time to go ahead and wrap this one up.
All right, wrap it up. But that's what we're doing. That's what we're
so that's what we're doing. That's what we're looking for. This is what we want to do. Thank y'all for the support. Yeah. Add, like, share, Bellwether No. Right. If you have a hard time finding it, I'm going to share this onto my page and onto his page. So if you're having a hard time finding Bellwether No, it should be when we do the page, it should go on there. So if you're still having a hard time, let us know. We'll try to help you. One thing I talked to Widener about earlier that I would like to put in the comments on everything that we do is the vet crisis phone number. and the vet crisis hotline,
Yeah.
which that's going to be a whole nother subject that we're going to talk about, because as I was doing the research on the vet crisis number and the suicide
We're trying to
hotline,
shut it down, but yeah, no, I got you.
they're the same damn number.
Yeah, that out of control.
I can't type on this thing. The number is 1-800-273-8255 if you need to call them. That's the vet crisis suicide hotline, whatever. Richard James, glad to see y'all doing this. So
James, he's my man.
Okay.
All right. Yep. Let's hey, thanks
right.
for everyone that's watched it, and hopefully you'll come back and watch it again. I don't know.
Yeah. Next week is going to be fire, because we're actually going to have a topic to talk about rather than going on a rant like we did today. It's going to be fire. Fireball. All right. Yep. Y'all have a good night.
Introduction, but shit, we can probably talk for 5, 6.
Thank you, James. James put up the number for us right as I was about to get off. Man, James, you're awesome.
You're going to.
I couldn't type for some reason.
All right.
Good night, guys.
All right. Good night. End it.